All right, welcome to the CXM experience. And as always, I'm Grad Kahn, your host and CXO, Chief Experience Officer at Sprinklr. And today is one of my favorite kinds of shows because we're doing an interview. And I just love interviews because I always learn a ton from it. I always have a really good time. I'm particularly excited about today's guest, who is Jodie Sangster, and she is the CMO for IBM ANZ, which is Australia and New Zealand. And she's also the head of brand for APAC. Welcome, Jodie.
Thank you. Very delighted to be here.
Oh, really? Yeah, great. I'm glad you're delated. Well, we'll see how you feel in 15 minutes.
It's nice and early in the morning for me, so I'm ready to go.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you doing this to start your day. Hopefully this will get your day off to a great start and you'll have an awesome day and you'll be able to look back at the end of the day and say, boy, I'm really glad I was on the CXM experience with Grad because that made this day the best day of the week.
That's the aim. That's the aim of this morning.
That's the aim. All right. So I'm just gonna. I don't want. We're not gonna. You work at IBM, amazing company. I almost worked at IBM. I was about to work at IBM, and then I sort of switched gears really quickly at the last second and ended up at Sprinklr. But one of the great companies of all time, and I've got nothing but admiration for IBM and its amazing history. I've always actually wanted to visit the place where they make the mainframes in Poughkeepsie, but that just keeps slipping through my fingers, but it's on my list. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much about IBM. What I really want to do is talk about you. And what I find super interesting when I talk to different CMOs and other marketing leaders is the story of how you got into marketing, sort of, and why you decided to go into marketing. I'm always really interested in how people define marketing. I've yet to have the same definition repeated to me, so that's always really interesting to me. And then we'll talk a little bit about how customers are changing today and all the challenges we face with all the customer evolution that's occurring. So let's start with why marketing. So why did you get into marketing? Of all the jobs, like let's face it, this is not an ezy job. Of all the things you could do in life, why marketing?
So it's a funny one because I've actually had a backwards career. I think I've done things in reverse. So I started off as a lawyer, I was a lawyer.
Yeah, that's cool.
Very interested in privacy, data protection, how you could use data, etc. And that's kind of where the whole customer piece came in. So I started off doing that. After various jobs, I then ended up as a CEO of the marketing association. So that was
cool. Okay.
Yeah. All so it was very much kind of looking into the industry. It was for Australia, and really understanding kind of what the trends were, where's all this going, what can we do to help marketers kind of advance, and what kind of new skills do they need? What do businesses need to do to invest in marketers to make sure that they've kind of got the best talent in their organizations? And then from there, I became a CMO. So it's kind of, I've done it, as I say, a slightly different way around. And you know what's been fascinating going into marketing from kind of running a marketing association is exactly what you just said. It's actually a much harder job than I think anyone gives it credit, because you are across so many. It's kind of vast in terms of what marketing now sits across, in terms of really making sure that we're engaging our customers. And I don't think that's an easy job at all. And it's changing. Every kind of month there's something new that we need to take on board, or something new that we need to do in technology, or something new that we need to do in data. So it's kind of one of these constantly evolving roles. But look, I love it, and I'm glad I found myself here.
I agree with you that it is hard because of the need to sit across so many different organizational silos. And CMOs are actually increasingly getting tasked with digital transformation because they're one of the few players in an organization that is touching so many different groups, right? So they've got that different view. I think also what makes it really hard is that everybody else thinks it's really easy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about you, but like everyone thinks they know how to do marketing. It's unbelievable. And so everyone's got tons and tons of opinions. Like, one of the nice things to think about being a lawyer is people rarely tell you how to be a lawyer, right? They're like, wow, geez, you're a lawyer. I mean, oh my gosh, save me.
Absolutely.
But marketing is like, everyone's got like 50 different points of view on how you should be doing your job. And of course, the trickiest thing about marketing, and I don't know how I'd love to sort of hear how you manage this, is that you can't do everything. I have yet to It may happen, but I've yet to run into a marketer who said to me, wow, I just had so much money. I did every single tactic I wanted to do, and I just like literally just had extra money left over and didn't know what to do with it. And now all these extra people too, and we were just there, we were sitting around because we had no more things to invest in. Like, I've never heard that, right? So how do you allocate? Like, what's your sort of skill set and sort of mindset as you think about allocation? How do you make choices between different tactics? Because they all can legitimately drive the business. It's hard to sort of tell them apart sometimes.
Yeah, look, and this, I would absolutely agree with you in terms of there are so many things you can do. There are so many things that people want you to do, which, I mean, in an organisation the size of IBM and with the number of business units, I guess, within IBM, I mean, we're a case study for that, I guess, that there's a lot of requests that are made of marketing. And you have to then look at it and go, we can't do everything and we want to do certain things and do them really well. For us, it's really about kind of what are the big business objectives. So what are the pick three, and they're the business objectives that we'll then support. And then for me, it's about looking at the data and what is working for us and what is not working for us. And, and really kind of getting behind that, because a lot of activities and tactics can sound like a good idea, or you can get for example, a huge attendance at something, or you can be reaching a huge amount of people in digital, but is it actually converting into the business result that you're wanting it to convert into? And often the answer to that is no. So we do spend kind of retrospective time rather than consistently looking forward. We do spend time looking backwards and saying, well, what has worked for us, what hasn't worked for us? And if it hasn't worked, is there a reason why that hasn't worked? Or is it something that we did and we could change or do better? Or is it actually just that sort of marketing at this time is not working for us? And that's how we then kind of allocate and say, this is where we're going to spend our money.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know, this might be apocryphal. I'm not sure if it's a data-based comment, but I've read a couple times that about 98% of all marketing initiatives fail to reach their goals. And based on my experience, I don't think that's a crazy number. I'm going to say that could be true. So I was kind of jokingly tell my team, if we're just failing 95% of the time, then we're killing it versus the industry average. So
it's a bit depressing, isn't it?
Well, it could be worse. Could be failing 100% of the time. So but how do you manage that, right? Because there is a sort of a truism in marketing is that you're mostly failing all the time, right? And then learning from that and then recalibrating and stuff like that. So how do you handle failure with your team? And different leaders manage this in different ways. And how do you get your team to be okay with trying things that might not work?
Yeah. So I think it depends on the measure, to be honest with you. So I think if you're consistently going on just a revenue measure, then you can look at it and say, well, of the people that we reached, did those convert into sales? And you're going to say, well, no, obviously not everybody that we touch in marketing is going to convert into business. But it also does have a different objective behind it as well. So I think it's being clear about the objectives and making sure you've got objectives in there which both obviously line up to the business, but also have some of those broader marketing priorities, which can be around brand, which can be around engagement, which can be about, in a B2B world, it could be depth into accounts, so you're reaching more people in the account. So I think you can kind of, with the measures, look at it, don't use them as such a blunt instrument that it looks as though we're always, or we're not meeting every business goal, because some of those business goals are not as black and white. Some of the marketing goals are not as black and white as the business goals.
Yeah, that's neat. I have a sort of an IBM, as I sort of mentioned at the beginning. I'm a big fan of the company, and I have a little IBM story for you. So because of this problem, right? Because of this problem, you can't always know that something is delivered dollars. Sometimes people don't get recognized for work they do because it's not revenue attached or not yet. And so I created an award that I did it. I had a monthly marketing team, all hands. And I created an award called the Think Award. You see where I'm going here, right?
I like this.
And so what I did is I went on eBay and I found all these, there's, I think it was the Eames designed one of the think plaques that people would have on their desks at IBM were designed by the Eames, and there's a ton of them available on eBay. And so I scooped up, not as many anymore though, because I scooped up like hundreds of these things and bought them all. And they all came in various conditions and also different languages. They came from all around the world. And they're all different colors. They're kind of a rounded edge plastic thing with a metal frame in it. And then what we would do is that when people did something cool, I would recognize there were usually 3 or 4 people with a Think Award, and they kind of proudly displayed them on their desk. And actually, Randy, our producer, if he turns his video on in the very near the end, you'll see there's a Think plaque behind him. That's one of the Think Awards that he won. So it was kind of a neat way to recognize people are still doing cool stuff, but maybe we can't always put a goal on it. And people seem to like that. All right, so let's talk a little bit.
On that Think story, just so actually, and I just heard this the other day where that idea of Think came from. So obviously, Think for us is a kind of a masthead brand for our kind of innovation leadership conferences, etc. But it came from Thomas Watson sitting in the boardroom when he was sitting around the room going, I think IBM is one of those companies that continually reinvents itself. And they were sitting in the boardroom, looking at kind of what's the next step for IBM and and he stood up and said, guys, I need you to think. And that's where Think came from. And I actually just learned that like 2 weeks ago. So there we go.
That's awesome. What a great story. And then it ended up being signs, and it's such a great slogan. So let's talk a little bit about what marketing is. So this is something I'm also super interested in. I have yet to find 2 marketers who define marketing the same way. They're often within the same orbit in the same solar system, but rarely are they the same planet. So how do you define marketing? If someone were to say to you, you're in marketing, what is marketing? How would you describe it to them?
Look, I think this is a really difficult question. But I think broadly, as marketing, you are the representative of the customer. That's kind of broadly how I put it. So you are the one in the organization who is going to sit there and say, what are we doing? What is right for the customer? And then kind of working backwards from there, you're kind of going, okay, well, what is the information we need to provide to the customer? How can we make ourselves more valuable to the customer? How can we engage them? How can we, invoke emotions in our customer? And that's really, for me, and that's why I think marketing has become so broad, because it's not about, I'm going to go out and sell a product. It's about actually looking from the customer backwards as to how the company can be valuable to the customer so that you are going to be more top of mind.
I love that. That's fantastic. And that is a nice segue into our next sort of topic, because customers are challenging these days. Customers are changing. I'd love to just hear your thoughts on how you see customers changing and the ways you're thinking about reacting to that and working within that new context.
So the great thing is, I think as marketers, we are also consumers, and we know how we've changed, and we know how we are expecting companies to interact with us and how we are expecting them to be valuable to us. So I think the change from a customer's perspective, I often hear people saying, customers now expect companies to be personalized with them, or to really kind of get down to a personal level. And I don't believe that's strictly true. I think what customers are expecting are that we are valuable to them, because it's not possible for every company to get to the level of experience that they can be personal with every customer. But I do think that they have a responsibility to be valuable to a customer. So for me, I think that's what we should be focused on as marketers, and thinking through kind of with the programs that we're putting out there, and really questioning ourselves is this valuable to the customer, or am I just trying to put something out there that's valuable to me?
Interesting. I'm
not sure I answered the question, actually.
No, it's a.
I forgot the question halfway through, so I'm not sure if I answered it or not.
Your comment, which I'll challenge you gently and respectfully on the beginning of your answer, because the beginning of your answer was, we all know how customers have changed because we've all changed. I accept that's true for you and me. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure that everybody in the company gets that. Like, I'm constantly having bizarre meetings with people who still don't think Facebook's a thing. and it's so I think it's a little dangerous maybe to assume that everyone in the company is all at the same sort of level of understanding how people are different. And so I don't know, how do you make sure that your peers and everyone is like on the same page that you're on? Because I think marketers tend to be pretty hip with this stuff, but not everybody else is.
Yeah, but I think you can use that to your advantage because pretty much, I mean, particularly in an organisation the size of mine, you've got a very good cross-section of what the consumer looks like. And you're 100% right. We may assume because we are dealing with digital every day that, that everyone understands social media and everybody understands, kind of what the new technologies are and what they should be engaged in. But you're right. I mean, you look around a company and actually, not everybody is engaged in that area, and not everybody is so far advanced, and not everybody's kind of buying online. Not everybody. And I think that's important to take into account. So you can actually use that to your advantage, within an organisation, so that you understand there is a diversity out there, and the diversity is the segment of customers you're dealing with, but it's also kind of how advanced they are, and we can't make assumptions that everybody is at that same stage. In terms of, though, I think your question's got a slightly different spin on it as well, which is how do you keep a company up to speed with what's going on and kind of where we need to be playing? And I do think marketing can play a role in that. And I would do that. I might answer that in a very kind of small way that we've done it within our organisation. So, for example, we know we've got to be more visible on social media. And not everybody in the organisation is on LinkedIn or is on Twitter or whatever it may be. So we've actually, in our marketing team, we've partnered up our marketers with people within the organisation, so executives within the organisation, and partnered them together. So that we can take forward, So we take forward, the idea that the marketer can be helping somebody to become more proficient in social, can be helping them to craft a post, and it would be easier for them. And I had a great conversation the other day with somebody within IBM who said, I really want to be on social media, but it's that fear that I sit there and I write something and I've got to press send and it goes out to the big wide world. And it's true, right? A lot of us feel like that. And, it's a small way, it's small things that you can do like that in organisations that will go, actually, we can help you to kind of take that next step and build your profile or be more confident with the new technology that's coming through.
That's a great idea. It's also a great way to get the marketing organization embedded more deeply across the org, so you kind of break down silos. I never heard of that idea. Actually, there was one time I worked at Microsoft for a long time, and there was I had the weirdest meeting with someone once where we were talking about LinkedIn. We were doing social selling, and just a whole bunch of I was just kind of going on about what we were doing on LinkedIn and all the strategies. And with a deadpan face, he said to me, "I never actually been to LinkedIn."
Yep.
I said, "Like lately?" And he goes, "No, never been to LinkedIn. Like never even gone to the page. Never even looked at it." And I was like, wow, that's lifetime employment. I'll tell you, I'm like not worried at all. It's like amazing. I think he's still there, still doing very well. It's just very strange. Okay, well,
and still not on LinkedIn.
And still not on LinkedIn, right? Because
there
anyway.
You go.
Well, Jodie, this has been fantastic, and I want to thank you for your time and your ideas. I love that you shared those things with us today, and it was really great to have you on the CXM Experience. Any last words or any last thoughts for listeners?
I don't have any last thoughts, but I tell you what, I will be tuning in because I think it's this sort of sharing. You just pick up kind of thinking of other marketers and people kind of dealing with the same issues. And it's those little gems that sometimes you can go away with and go, you know what, I can just do something slightly differently. So thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing those insights. Some great ideas in there. I really, really enjoyed that session. I really appreciate your time. So our guest today was Jodie Sangster, CMO for IBM ANZ. And for the CXM Experience, I'm Grad Kahn, CXO at Sprinkler, and I will see you next time.